Hi, Pete Moore, Mart TV. What I have here is a new moderator from A-TEC. Took the Blaser R8 Silence. It was the first rifle I'd seen, commercial rifle, with a full-length moderator. Interesting, and it's not built for stealth or subsonics as you might think. It's more about protecting the hunter and also his dogs perhaps. This is German-European feeling. Anyway, if you want to buy something like an R8 Silence, and they are a cracking rifle in wood or in synthetic, they cost a lot of money, probably 3.5 up to 5.5 depending on finish and things. It's the same that Sauer also do a 404 Silence, and Steyr also do a thing called the Breeze, all the same principle, very long integrated moderator, so a lot of money, and I think this sort of gun's quite attractive. So what A-TEC have done, they've picked up on this and they've produced a silencer system that needs fitting by a gunsmith. It's not a case of just winding it onto the end of the barrel like a normal muzzle mounted can, but it's considerably less than buying a full rifle. So what you do, you use whatever rifle you want as a donor rifle. You get it in and it comes in, and we'll just see it in greater detail later on, and it gets chopped and cut and all the bits and pieces need doing to it. But this is the one I got from Riflecraft, because they're doing the first one for Jackson Rifles to import A-TEC, and I was down there the other week and I just blagged it on the sly, and I've got it here. He uses a Hauer 1500 chassis. In this case it's in 223 Remington. The can itself is a 30 cal bore, so when we do the sound testing there may be a little bit too much free bore, which you'll see, but it's not so much about that, it's just about the principle. I've also got a standard muzzle mounted can which I'll put in the end for a comparison. But the stock is a GRS Berserk, which is quite nice. Adjustable length of pull, adjustable comb. Had a Legacy Sports 5-shot mag conversion, and the Hauer 1500 is a bit like a cross between a Remington and a sort of Winchester 70, and it's a good solid action, nice position safety catch, not wrong with it at all, and this comes wearing a 0 MOA Tier 1 Picatinny rail. So that is what they call the integral. This is what A-TEC call the integral. So we'll now look at it in more detail. Right, I've just removed the moderator, which consists of 2 major and 1 minor assemblies. Up front is what I would term as a standard muzzle mounted moderator with baffles inside, made by A-TEC. Behind it is most curious, is what really looks like a muzzle brake, but it's reversed. You see the actual ports are facing backwards. Now obviously the whole point of moderator is it slows and cools down the gases, and an expansion chamber is an ideal place to push them, so they take some time to come out, and that's what causes the moderation. So basically as it fires, the bullet passes through, and obviously gas will come out the front once the bullet clears, but because there's an instant of high pressure, a lot of this gas will vent, in theory, through these angle ports back into the tube. And this is a plain tube. Most moderators, we see reflexes, they're all contained, so the back is sealed, which means you have quite a small expansion space, because it's basically like in a sandwich sleeve. This is just a plain tube of about, I don't know, 32 mil. So sealing is a bit different. If you come in again, Ed, you can see there's a rubber O-ring up here. Yep, that goes in like that. And at the rear, you have the barrel bushing. As I explained before, the barrel is cut and reinforced, trimmed, and this is 2 O-rings here that seal the back, because obviously you're going to get a gas wash coming down the inside of the tube, and you don't want to hit in the face. And the instructions from A-TEC say that this must be Loctite in position to stop the possibility of any gas escaping between the bush and the barrel outer wall. It's probably unlikely, but you know, belt and braces, why not? And when it's all together, I'll show you here rather than doing it again. You've got your tube, you've got your moddy, you've got your bushing. This slides on, then the moddy screws on. In fact, we can see it here rather easily. It screws on like that. Obviously you can't shoot it like this, you get a face full of gas, but you can see the point. This comes down and it tensions the tube between this shoulder here and this shoulder there, and the O-ring seal, so you've got like a sealed container in between. That's how it basically works. The other issue with moderators that use what I would call an open system, which this is, so I used to have a PAS like this many years ago for my 204 Ruger, is that the gas comes down and it coats the metal, and if you don't clean it off every time, which can be a bit of a pain, it will start to etch the metal and take off any finishes. Then you've got the problem with corrosion. So again, ATEC say that when the cutting is done and all the remachining, reprofiling, the whole area must be repainted with Cerakote H to stop corrosion build-up, and that's part of the spec, so that needs to be done. So that's really it. The caveats for me, there's a couple of things as you might even think. If you look here, we have quite a big fat barrel anyway, with a 34mm outer tube, and if you had a sporting weight forend, you know, it's a normal sort of slim one for normal hunting, you would probably, to fit it, you'd have to remove material, which would be too much. This is why Andrew selected this Berserk stock, because as you can see, it's got a very generous forend, it's rigid, it's made out of a good quality synthetic, and it's machined away. So you can imagine machining away this much material on a sporting stock, there'd be bugger all left. Now, this is where you get the rub, shall we say, because if I decide to do it to my rifle and it's got sporting stock on it, and therefore the stock is useless, I can't use it for this, I then have to buy myself another stock. So you're looking here at expense factors. The can itself costs $5.18, I think, including that on its own. Fitting has to be done by a recommended gunsmith from Jackson Rifles, and they will publish a list of people who will do it for you. And obviously that work needs to be paid for. I spoke to Riflecraft, and to chop, thread, reprofile, Cerakote, and also don't forget proof, because it's got to be proof because you're cutting a pressure bearing item, he would charge $185 for the work and £100 for the Cerakoting. So you add that to $5.18, and you're stretching up towards £800. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but you've got to take these things out. And if, for instance, you decide to, and your stock won't do it, you've got to factor in a stock. This Berserk costs, I think, $448 or something. Okay, and you could, if you needed a stock, the total package would cost you about 1,200 quid, give or take. So various gunsmiths will have various rates they charge. So 285, I think, is probably a decent ballpark figure, as quoted by Riflecraft, but you might go to another gunsmith who charges more, and it could be more. You might go to charges less, could be less. So that's the only weird rotary factor in it. However, even if you're paying £1,200, if you've really got the urge for a fully moderated rifle, and you don't want to pay Blaser, Sauer type stayer money, then this is one of the options. Okay, just a few facts and figures to confuse you with. First of all, the moderator is available in 224, 264, 6.5, 0.30, 338, 375. But I think 338 and 375 can produce a lot of gas for a short 18-inch. Output, again, quoting from A-TEC, is 28 to 32 decibels in 308 Winchester, which is not too bad. But I found, using other people's Mark 1 ears as well, it gives a pretty good idea of the practical output when you're out in the woods doing stuff. Because this is fine, you're quoting something, but you're out there, that's when moderation counts, and that's where you can tell if it's a good moderator or a bad one in terms of what it does. Say the guns are bought in, say the moderators are bought in by Jackson Rifles, the gunsmithing is by Riflecraft, but depending where you are in the UK, it might be something else. I'm very much in two minds about this. As I explained, price-wise, it mounts up. You know, the can is $5.18 on its own, and if you haven't got a stock to fit, then you've got to consider that. And the thing I think, the other thing to think of is that if you decide to go for this, you will have problems, as I said, with depending what calibre it is. There's no way 243 and an 18-inch tube is going to be large deer legal at 1,700 foot-pounds, which really puts that gun as a Foxer or a Muntjac rifle. So someone said to me not long ago, he said, really, the most sensible choice is the 308 with an 18-inch barrel. But then again, that takes it away from what might be varmint use, I don't know. And once the gun has been chopped and chipped around, then it is pretty much how it's going to stay. It's not like screwing a moderator onto a 22-inch barrel or something like that, doing a bit of foxing or whatever with it, then taking it off. You see what I mean? This thing, it is what it is. But it's just, I'm playing devil's advocate here, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it for the sake of it, but it's my job to look at these things analytically with my experience and tell you how I feel. You may not agree with me, but I don't mind. But that's it. Okay, we're now going to move on to the stage, the best bit of shooting them. What we've got here is a 30 cal moderator, it's a Schutz and Larsen muzzle mounted, which is I'm using as control, and I'm using Gecko's 53 grain 223 rem soft point bullet. So we'll just see how it goes. Okay, now we've got the integral back on, same load, and we'll listen again. So, listen in. I've switched down from the 53 grain bullet to a Hornady match, which is a 69 grain boat tail hollow point. It's a slower bullet. They're quoting about 2.9, I reckon, from this tube. It'll be doing 2.8, 2.750, because there will be a drop in velocity, obviously, because of the lack of barrel. But let's just see how this sounds by comparison. Right, there you have it. Number of thoughts. We took it outside and shot it, and to a degree it sounded noisier, which was surprising. And we took it in here, what I call still air, where technically it should be noisy because we're in a box, so therefore the sound's not escaping. With the standard muzzle mounted can, I thought it was just sounded like a sort of slightly louder moderated 223. But with the A-TEC on, I think that what it does, it really knocks down that signature at the muzzle end, very much so, which is what a moderator is all about. Obviously, the bullet's still going supersonic, so you can't get rid of that crack, but inside where the conditions should have been worse in terms of sound waves bouncing around, I found it was much more of a muted shot. Then moving to the 69 grain, I also thought that was quite quiet too. The only issues I have here, it's not issues, it's really the fact that this is a 30 caliber moderator and we're firing a .224 projectile. So really, it would have been nicer if A-TEC had sent a 224 can, but that's what you got. And perhaps the only donor rifle Andrew had was one of these in 223. But I think that it does work pretty well over a muzzle mounted can or a standard shorter reflex can. Even in 30, so I imagine if you're wanting a 224 Foxer or Muntjac gun and you've got the 224 board can, I think what we found would be vastly improved. So yeah, final thoughts is it's quite expensive for what it is. You do have to sacrifice a gun, but for a serious guy who wants to do the business, this certainly, in my opinion, does the business.